3 days ago marked 7 years that I've been vegan and also 7 years that I've been free from binge eating. At that time, food completely controlled my life and every single part of it. I was constantly thinking about what I could eat, what I could not eat, how can I stop eating? It was something that was pivotal for me and it felt like it was lasting forever. But today, that no longer is the case, and it's been 7 years since then. And in this video, I'm going to take a bit of a reflection to see what that journey has been like for me, and also what you can do today to look to break free from it if you are struggling with binge eating and a compulsion to eat, and you cannot stop thinking about it. To open up today, I'd like to share with you one of the experiences I had early days of when I was binge eating and just crazy. Like back on 20, when I wanted to get my health back on track, back then I was broke. My body was all jacked up. I had rashes all over my skin. My inflammation was crazy. I had so much pain in my body. I could barely prepare myself a meal at night because my back was so sore and I would hunch over a little bit. And just by doing that and trying to stand up, hurt my back so much. I ended up screwing up my back and I couldn't prepare food and I couldn't work for months on end. So during that time, I was struggling so hard. I would order Uber Eats and Deliveroo almost every single night, practically every single night, other than the times that I tried so hard to become vegan and so hard to become raw vegan. I would go from a day to swinging right back to 3 days to swinging right back. I remember the first 2 years, the most I could get for the time up was anywhere from 7 to 10 days. And that was extremely rare for me. The thoughts and the obsession of food would become so much, the cravings would become so intense that I was compelled by the desire to go back and binge. And when I would binge, I'd eat whatever, burgers, chips, pizza, meat. It didn't matter as long as it filled me up and it tasted good. And the worse it tasted, the better, because that's how I felt about myself back then. I had a time where I was getting to 7 days and I wanted so badly at that point to stop. And I had asked my dad if I'd got to that point, and we talked about this, if I got to the point where I was going to bust, to call him so I could go over to his place and be with him and talk to him and just reset the night so I could just get through it and make it to the next day. And what ended up happening is on the seventh day, I had the thoughts and the compulsion to want to binge again. And so I called him, which was extremely rare. I would hardly ever do that. And I asked him if I could come over because I'm going to binge. To get to that point of honesty took me years. And when I was finally able to do that, I went over, we had a bit of a chat, I got into bed and I was watching some TV, still quite restless, and an ad for Hungry Jack's, a burger, came on TV. And when that came on, the thought of having the burger turned into an obsession shortly after. And from that obsession, I couldn't escape the thought. And I would go to my parents' pantry at that time and think of eating the food in their pantry to just try and ease this relentless thinking and craving of food. And I would go back to my bed. They lived in an apartment complex and they had a balcony. And I thought, I know there's a Hungry Jack's down the road and a burger place there. What if I just climb down the balcony and go off? And I would go back from the balcony to my bed, back to the pantry, back to my bed. And I did this for 2 hours, which is insane, right? That is how badly I wanted to stop doing this. And if you had hooked me up to a lie detector test at that time, I would have promised you that I would have done it. and I would have said so badly, this is the biggest thing that means the most to me in my life. What happened? What happened was, after the relentless 2 hours of going back and forth thinking, well, if I binge on the pantry and eat food, they're going to know, so I'm not going to do that. And then going to the balcony, I'm like, that's ridiculous, climbing down a balcony and going back and forth. I made the decision. I picked up all my stuff out of frustration. I got out of there. I went back to my place, which was just down the road, and I went to Hungry Jack's. And when I went to Hungry Jack's and got the burger, I ordered as much food as I possibly could, which is what I always did. And I ate as much as I could. And in that moment, I was thinking how helpless that I'm feeling, and how I know I want to become so much healthier. I want a better life for myself. I was so isolated, in so much pain, in so much guilt and shame. I just knew that wasn't the answer, but I didn't know how to stop myself from doing it. And when I was walking, once I'd finished the meal, as much as I could possibly eat, out of like a stint of 30 minutes, eating as much as possible, I walked back home. And on the way back home, I just started bawling my eyes out, because in that moment, I knew that I was totally powerless over the binge eating, the compulsion, the obsession, the thinking around food. And I absolutely didn't know what to do with my life. Now, I would have loved to say that it stopped there, and I ended up having a moment where things started to change. This continued on for another year to a year and a half, and it got worse, much, much worse. And by the 3-year mark, I ended up really, really getting to a point where I was going to rehab for food. I was looking up places to go to, because if I couldn't control it anymore, maybe if I was to put in an institution where they controlled my food, and I didn't have to think about it, and they could portion everything, give me everything, I would be okay. And even then, I still knew, and at the bottom of my heart, that I would more than likely find a way to binge. It's just what I did. What changed this all for me is, the first thing is, I asked for help when I got to that 3-year mark. And that is something that, and when I say help, like on the deepest level that I could possibly muster, I was so willing and prepared to do anything. And that help came when I asked someone who had been through this before, who was addicted to food, who'd come out of it, and who was successful being vegan and successful being raw vegan, which is what I really wanted to achieve with my health at that time. And I talked with that person, and it is single-handedly been the best decision I have made up until this point, because from that conversation, it led me to be able to get some serious help to really understand the cycle that I was stuck in for so many years, how I'd been restricting, how my emotions were plaguing me, how much I was attached to food, and really deepened my belief and faith in a power greater than myself that I choose to call God today, and that aligns as Jesus Christ for me. From that point that I started to ask for help, I took the actions, I started to understand what's going on, I came out of that, and I started to build a very strong foundation. That foundation set a very strong pillar for me to never go back. And it's been 7 years since then, and I've never gone back to that insane, just back and forth, and oh my God, like the hell that I was in at that point in time. Haven't gone back there. And a message that I would like to pass on is that my life and the quality of my life today, as a result of not being stuck in that cycle, is incredible, and my health is the absolute best it's ever been. I do not suffer from a chronic immune disorder, which I did at the time. I do not suffer from chronic pain and inflammation. I've been vegan now for 7 years. I've been raw vegan for 2.5 years. My skin has gotten so better. My mental clarity has gotten so better. My energy. There are countless things I could go on with the amount of benefits to my life. And not only just with my health, like my connection with my family, the connection that I have with Jesus Christ and the church, and all these things that have been able to happen for me in my career, in my personal life, how it's changed me has come all from that moment of simply asking for help and believing in something greater than myself. That was the turning point. Now, I wanted to give you a couple of takeaways. One, I started to not restrict so much food anymore. I had a really bad habit of restricting a lot of food and detoxing heavily to compensate to what I was going through. That was the first thing. I ate an abundance of very, very healthy food, but an abundance of it. So I didn't restrict there. The second was I transitioned slowly. I wanted to get to raw vegan. That was the ultimate goal to me. And fast and do a fast. I remember watching a documentary of the Joe Cross, a dude fasting for like 60 days. And I so badly wanted to do that for my health. I just couldn't do it. So the process for me of going vegan, doing that for a period of time, and going raw vegan and then getting into fasting, that's how I transition. The third thing is I would like to say absolutely a belief in a power greater than myself, and that I choose to call God, has been absolutely pinnacle for me. Without that level of surrender, my thinking would have been overtaken by my compulsion and obsession. So I had to believe in something else that was going to help guide me through food and my food choices, rather than it always being me and me trying to control it. The more I tried to control it, the more out of control it got and the more intensified it became. The other thing is I very actively helped and was of service to other people. Because what that allowed me to do is it stopped me thinking about myself so much. And it didn't have to be anything major, even if it was just calling someone to see how they're going, or at work doing something for someone that they didn't ask about, or reaching out to someone who is struggling with binge eating and being part of a community to talk to them about my own experience. I would do those actions religiously, and that helped me really get out in front of them. So my life is an absolute blessing as a result of the change that I experienced and the transformation I had 7 years ago. And I'm still learning and growing and wanting more out of this life. And today I help people in this space every single day, talking with people every single day about how to transition to a vegan and a raw vegan lifestyle, and not to be plagued by binge eating and the compulsion of eating and the obsession of food. So if this is something that you are still struggling with and you're still going through, there is hope for you, and I can guarantee that. And the reason why I can guarantee it is because I was stuck in this cycle for so many years. As you've heard, I had a transformation and I came out of it. And that had to start with the action that I was willing to take. And the same can be true for you. So what I am more than happy to do is, if you click the link below, let's have a conversation about what's coming up for you. What has it been? How has it been for you that you've been binging, and what that experience has been like, so we can put a very clear plan of action in place so you can get free from it and achieve complete stability, so you are never thinking of this again and your life completely becomes free. So this past 7 years hasn't been easy, it has been incredible. And I'm looking forward to, God willing, more years to come on this journey to serve and live a great life that's free from that hideous addiction that I was stuck in for so many years. Love you guys. Take care.